G'day, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Sex Sells Podcast, the podcast where we talk about culture, relationships, and society from a male and a female perspective. Today, we are going to be talking about something a bit more positive, especially compared to what we spoke about last week. We're going to be talking about weddings. Eliza has a wedding coming up. Very exciting. I went to one yesterday, and it was a big ethnic wedding. And
Oh,
look,
so fun.
I've always been a little bit cynical about weddings. I understand why they're necessary and their meaning. And I did always think, it's a bit over the top
Yeah.
how some people put, hundreds of thousands of dollars and make it
Yeah.
the centerpiece of their life. But, yesterday, this was epic. So this was a big Greek wedding. And
so
first
good.
they're at the church, and it's all very traditional, and the Orthodox priest is singing. I don't understand half of it, but it's all very it's nice. It's good tones. It felt really meaningful. I don't know why, but you're
that's
in this
good.
big church, huge ceiling, portraits of
Yeah.
Jesus everywhere. And then the reception also, and then the bride and groom came in a horse-drawn carriage, which apparently they traveled
No.
5 kilometers through half of Sydney. And she had a huge. What's the thing?
Veil?
Not the sort of the last.
Train.
Yeah, the train was huge. So
Oh, wow.
from what I've been told, that just means it's very lavish and ostentatious, and she looked amazing. All the bridesmaids looked amazing. The groomsmen all looked amazing. And she walked down the aisle. The groom started crying, and
Aww.
then everyone else was crying. And they did the ceremony. And I think there must be something in the Orthodox tradition that they're sort of putting these crowns onto each other, and then they become. I think it's meant to signify they become one. I'm not actually sure if you've been married in an Orthodox church. Let me know in the comments. And then the reception, this was the most Western Sydney thing I've ever seen. So they all come in with a big entrance. So they all have like a club banger to accompany their entrance. And when I say all, so everyone's seated in this big hall. And then each of the one groomsman is paired off with one bridesmaid. And they come in.
Oh, God.
And there's literal fireworks. I don't even know how to do it. They've got pyrotechnics at this venue. So as each of them are coming in, there's like a few little fireworks on the side. And then, oh my God, the bride and groom come in, and there's a huge pyrotechnics show. The lighting changes. And then all these guys with big drums come in. And a guy with a
Oh, yeah.
saxophone comes in. They're all
Oh,
circling
my God.
the bride and groom.
Yes. Oh,
They're all
so
dancing,
fun.
and then there's these huge like barely, people who had babies had to put headphones and earmuffs on the babies, and it felt like a concert.
Yeah.
It was invigorating. It was fun. It was lively. It was vivacious, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. The whole thing was. It was art. It was
love
a
that.
performance, and as being an artist, I can respect that. And then there was a video crew that managed to film and edit a wedding video that night. So we're getting served dessert, and then we see this video.
Yeah.
It was incredible. And then they did speeches, and then they do the big Greek dancing, and at one point the newlyweds did a dance in the middle, and there's just a spotlight on them, and they got the bridesmaids and groomsmen to dance in a circle around them with the spotlight, and then everyone else dancing around them. So there were these sort of concentric circles of people dancing, so that the couple was the centerpiece.
Oh, wow.
And it was really well done. It was. I've only been to a handful of weddings, but that one
That one
that
you'll
one
never
takes the
forget.
cake. Yeah. I was
Yeah.
thoroughly impressed. So you got yours coming up at the end of the year.
Literally the polar opposite of that.
Okay.
Imagine everything being the complete opposite. That will be my wedding. But you know what's funny is I went to an ethnic wedding in Western Sydney, and it's probably the same venue. Did it have like the chandelier, like the giant chandelier from the roof?
Yeah, was it in Ride area?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's the one.
Because all the girls, I'd never been to a wedding like this before, and all the girls I was with, it was colleagues, and they were all Arabic girls, and they were like, we come here every single wedding, every single weekend for a wedding at the same venue with the same drumming guys, the same saxophone player, and they also had the showing of the wedding video during dessert. I was
Okay,
like, oh my
so
God,
that's
it's
a common thing,
crazy.
is it?
And they
Okay.
were like, this, everyone does the same one. And it was like, it was such a culture shock to me. I was in absolute awe. I'd never, same as you, I'd only been to a few weddings, never seen anything like it. I had the most fun I'd ever had, ever. And the groom was like, just completely fucking obliterated, and he got up to do a speech, and I was thinking, okay, me and my friends that I've seen get married, the groom gets up and does a really like emotional speech about how beautiful the bride looks and cries or whatever, and he was like, Mrs. I can't remember the name, his wife's mum, and he's like, you never let me sleep over, but tonight I'm taking her home and we're gonna bow chicka wow wow. And then he took his shirt off.
No. What?
Dived,
No, he didn't. No, he didn't.
dived into the crowd, and they were like, he was like crowd surfing, and it was just like so crazy. And I never even saw them together the whole night. She was dancing. Him and his boys had their shirts off. It was like wild. And here I was. The wedding I'd gone before was like in a little cottage.
Someone
like
needs to make
spiritual.
that the video white weddings versus ethnic weddings.
Yeah,
Because
I think it needs to be you.
well, you need a budget to make the ethnic wedding look realistic because
Yeah.
he took
Yeah.
his shirt off and said, "Tonight I'm gonna bounce you."
It was so funny.
There was an
Oh my
NRL.
God.
There's an NRL player, Brian who plays for the Penrith Panthers, and there's other NRL player, Jerome Luai, and there was footage that went viral of Jerome being the best man. They sit on that sort of, they're probably at the same venue. Everyone in Western Sydney must be doing it at this venue, and they sit on this sort of elevated table with the bride and groom in the middle, and then the groomsmen on one side and the bridesmaids on the other side, and then so Jerome is just off his face. He's clearly munted, and he's giving a speech, and it was horrible. Oh, it went viral,
no.
and at one point he says, first time I saw, I've forgotten her name, but Bron's Mrs. I was like, oh yeah, she's about an 8. Oh, oh my god, dude.
Oh my God.
You can see Brian is so mad, as you would be.
Oh, you would be. Holy shit.
Yeah, it was funny to watch, to observe. But yeah, the other wedding I went to last year was it was very Christian. It wasn't Orthodox. It was just very as Protestant, I suppose, non-denominational. And the priest spoke a lot, and he said some things that were for I guess for sort of secular people. Because a few of my other friends were there. They were definitely raising their eyebrows. A lot of you got to serve your husband and do all this sort of thing. But that's at most weddings you'd that's what it was. It always was,
Yeah.
and it was still a much more toned down ceremony, a very sort of humble dinner, and then a few of the parents gave speeches, and the father always has a few jokes in there and funny stories.
Yeah.
And then the best man, it wasn't anything really extraordinary, just a few little quips about some of the nicknames that he had in high school, and it was pretty funny. But the one yesterday, it was like I was inspired. It felt like an opening ceremony because they've obviously had to plan that. They've had to rehearse. So
Yeah.
there's something really, there's something quite special about that. That is obviously extraordinarily memorable, and I wonder if lavish weddings evolved as a way to further embolden that bond and just show how important that bond is, or it's just a show of wealth and vanity. Who knows? Because rich people today are still doing extremely lavish. Everyone probably who
Yeah.
can afford it would want to do a bit of a lavish wedding, but
Yeah.
yeah,
You
I
know
never. Yeah, go on.
what's kind of like depressing, I think, is that it's how much of that money comes just basically from the parents' fund. I remember when that wedding I had gone to, it was her family had paid for it, and it was like $200,000, and it just
Oh,
blew my mind for one night. And she said her parents had saved for it her entire life, like
well, that's yeah.
literally just that was everything they had, everything,
Oh,
literally everything they had went to that wedding. And a lot of it was like, well, the parents had a lot of decision about it, but it's just like, I thought that was just crazy. My friend, non-ethnic, her partner's sister just got married, and they had like a 140K wedding, and the parents had agreed to pay for it, and they'd budgeted originally 60K, and she more than doubled it, and they paid it. And now my friend's partner, who is that bride's brother, is getting married, and the parents are like, we won't give you money.
oh,
Yeah,
yeah. In
because they
this
had
economy,
yeah, they just paid for a wedding like 3 months ago for 140K. So
yeah,
sorry.
if you got multiple kids, if you got 3 or 4 kids, and you're spending 100K on each wedding, it's a lot. But
Yeah,
yeah, look, culturally, that is a huge milestone for. Look, throughout most of history, that was a huge milestone for anyone, and I can understand how parents would actually, first of all, it's a norm, but also they would want to do something like that as a show of, as an expression of gratitude and love for their child. So they might think, well, if we don't want to cheap, if there's one thing we don't want to cheap out on, it's a wedding. So I
yeah,
can understand both perspectives there.
yeah.
Still, you hear that $200,000 figure and you think, whoa, that's
I
a
know. Imagine
lot of
what
money.
you could have done with that money, and then these people are like struggling. I mean, the bride and groom are like then struggling, being like, "Oh, we want to save up for a home," and I'm like, "You got gifted a 200K wedding. Like, couldn't you have just taken some of that or half of that?" Like,
They remember
it's
that
just
forever.
yeah,
It's a
it's
memory forever.
fascinating. And the thing about the celebrants as well, that's one thing I've noticed about weddings is every time I've gone, I hate the celebrant. Every wedding I've gone to, I'm like, what the hell are these people saying? And so we picked a celebrant that, well, I picked a celebrant that was, she's like a couple of years older than me, like cool, kind of like rock and roll chick, super casual, super funny. She's a musician, and I like that she's a woman. But then she sent me all the paperwork, and it turns out there is all these scripts that they have to say, and she gives you like three different variations, being like by law, you have to pick one of these variations for each like segment. And I was like, oh, whoa.
Yeah, there's
That's
still a lot
why
of
they all say
legal.
that. Yeah.
I think people,
Yeah.
yeah, the marriage is still a legal institution that people
Yeah.
don't necessarily realize, and that's interesting. So even the more progressive celebrant has to
Yeah.
follow a
Yeah,
certain
so she was like,
script. Isn't
I
that
can say
interesting?
things in, because I said to her, like, we want it kind of like low key, we want it casual, we don't care if you're cheeky or like mischievous or funny, like, we don't care, like, we just don't want it super serious, we want a quick, simple, fast, whatever. And she was like, I can talk around all these things and say like cute little funny things, but I have to say one of these three phases, and there's like 8 different occurrences of that. So she's like, there's a big juxtaposition
Interesting.
between being really like casual and then being really serious and then going back to casualness. And yeah,
Interesting. Wow.
very interesting. Yeah. So I don't know. I know a lot of people were previously like, I don't want to get married, and now getting married, which I find interesting. That I felt like for a while there, marriage was out of fashion, and it's almost back in fashion. But I was talking to my family about this the other day because of all the older people we know that aren't married, and my mum was telling me they're not married because for like tax reasons and financial reasons. And she said that when I was a baby, or when she was pregnant with me, so like 29 years ago, that if she was basically made to be a stay-at-home mum, which wasn't made to be, but she chose to be a stay-at-home mum because if she were to go into the workforce with two incomes in the house, back then 70% of her income, the second income gets taxed, 70%. And that's why people will be like, well, it just makes more sense to
Is
stay at
that
home.
were they incentivizing one parent to stay home by doing that? Was that the thinking?
I
Or-
don't know. I have no idea. This is just what she told me. I don't even know. I didn't even look if it's true, but this is what she told me. She's like, I was told that 70% of all of our second incomes get taxed. That's why we all stay at home. Or for those that didn't stay at home, they just didn't get married, so they had kids and were de facto and had got taxed less. And she said a lot of people still do that, but I don't know too much about that. So someone correct me if I'm wrong, but yeah, interesting.
Yeah, well, they can't do that anymore. If the second, in most families, both of them, well, in a lot of families, after a while, both parents have to work.
Yeah, well, now they ask as well. Like, I think that it's even if you're de facto now, they say, what's the household income? Like when you fill out paperwork or you're trying to get subsidies or whatever, it's not like, what's your married partner's income? It's what's the household income. So I think they've kind of found like the caveat for that. But yeah, interesting.
So this is the average cost of a wedding per state. So in Queensland, it's 26 to 29,000. New South Wales average spend ranges from 37 to 41,000. Victoria 36 to 37,000. South Australia 30 to 31,000. Western Australia 31,000. Northern Territory 30,000. Tasmania 26,000. So that 200,000 figure, whoa,
Yeah.
that is that's a lavish wedding.
I actually don't know anyone that's had a wedding that's cost that little, which is I'm
Yeah, I was gonna
interested
say.
that is the average because that's actually the cost of our wedding. Our wedding is like 30K, or maybe even a bit less, but around 30K, including like my dress, etc. But that was me doing it like we're doing the most simplistic, small, intimate, like trying to keep it low key. And everyone was like commenting on like maybe this is just a reflection of me being it's from Sydney. Everyone was like, wow, it's so cheap. Like you're spending so little on it or whatever. But yeah, I thought like compared to my friends and
Well,
family, I thought I was doing on the low key.
Maybe that average takes into account people who just do the legal contract without actually,
Yeah.
and so then the average it
Yeah.
lowers the average. But yeah, it doesn't seem that expensive there.
Yeah. That's my friends who are getting married, they were originally going to get married in somewhere famous down in Bowral. I can't remember what it's called, but they got and then they looked at Kangaroo Valley, which is another like really popular wedding venue place, and they got quoted like 50-60K. So eventually they were like, well, we want to have, neither one of them are like high income earners. They were like, we want to have a kid after we get married. We don't want to waste 60+K on a wedding when that money would be used to keep me at home with a kid for a year. So they were like, they screwed off all their plans and they decided that they're going to have a courthouse wedding and then have like a reception at a restaurant with friends and family. So they've picked this restaurant in Sydney that is like I think it's like a French bar type restaurant. Like it's a nice finer dining, but not quite fine dining place. And the weddings end up costing like 45K anyway, just because it's like a nice restaurant just for the reception. And I was like, oh, you like they're happy with this plan, but it's like you cancelled your whole original weddings to go cheaper, and you're still spending more at a restaurant for just to feed the people, feed them a dinner basically, not even having like a proper. So it's just so expensive. It's like wild
Yeah.
to me.
Wow, it might be that businesses operating in the wedding industry can sort of know they can jack their prices up because it's the sort of
They
thing that a
do,
lot of people
yeah.
don't know. They don't want to feel like they're cheaping out on. Some
Yeah.
obviously do because they're on a budget, but there would be enough demand of people who want to, symbolize their commitment to each other in a lavish way, and thus they could probably add a certain amount of value, and at the same time, there's a lot of staff, often in catering, and it's a big ordeal, and
Yeah.
I'm sure it's not that cheap. And I wonder if the venues have a flat fee or if they charge per head.
Yeah, they do.
They have a flat fee,
Both.
do they? They do both. Yeah.
They have like a
Yeah,
venue
okay.
hire fee. Then some like the place where my friend's getting married, she has a venue hire fee, then she has a staff fee, then she has a security fee, then she has
Yeah.
a
Okay.
price per head fee plus alcohol. The thing that's really great about my venue is that, and it's kind of like a new-ish, like I think it's only been around a few years, and it's called Gracelands. It's on the Central Coast in Foresters Beach, and basically it's like they've redone it looks like a bar almost, and it's all timber and like greenery on the inside, and it has like a courtyard, like a garden out the back, which is where you get married. And they have it's like $140 or something per person. That includes all the food, all the alcohol, all the staff, and they give you a wedding planner as well. Like it's crazy
Oh, wow.
effective, and like I don't have to do anything. So just be like, well, colored. Here are the color options for this. What do you like? And I was like, this one. And I just find it so seamless. And this place is booked out constantly because they're so cheap yet effective, and or cheaper, I guess. And they don't rip people off, but and not doing so, their business is booming. Like it's amazing how well they've been doing for themselves, and they're winning all these like awards and things like that, local awards or whatever. So yeah, I think the up pricing is just crazy. And then people are like, well, I'm really busy, so I want a wedding planner. And then they spend 5K on someone to be like, which flower venue did you want to pick out? And or which flower types did you like? And it's like, well, what's the point of getting a planner if I have to pick out the venue or the vendor and pick out all this and make all the decisions anyway? Like I may as well just all you're doing is sending the email on my behalf. I don't want to talk shit on wedding planners. Actually, I know a wedding planner and she works really, really hard, but it's expensive as well. And it's hard to find the time to plan your wedding as well. It's no easy task, but
Yeah,
well, I'm
makeup
curious
and
though.
because some people
Yeah.
will get makeup on the day, and
Oh yeah.
then
Hair.
the video and photography they
Mm,
I know some people do wedding photography and videography, and they make good money doing that. And
Oh
usually
yeah.
the word spreads pretty quickly.
So
Look, if you're a videographer, it's a good business.
yeah, you
And
can make $5,000 a night. It's wild.
yeah, and then you compared to say the venue who had so many
Yeah.
overheads and staff and this and that, you just kind
Yeah.
of what do you have? If you got other people there with you, that's your
Yeah.
cost. Um,
Yeah.
and then wedding MCs. I've been asked to wedding MC. I haven't done it. I don't want to do it. So I feel
You don't want it? Oh.
feel like there's too much pressure. I don't want to
I feel
ruin
like
their.
you'd be great.
I will do it. I think I'll bite the bullet and do it eventually. But it's not something. Look, stand-up comedy is a bit different to that. I mean,
Yeah.
it's similar vein.
Yeah.
I would gladly. I think once or twice I've actually done a set at a wedding, and that's more my forte.
Wow. Yeah.
And you can charge. You can charge quite a bit.
Yeah.
And wedding MC though is that's a different ball game. It's their special day. I wouldn't want to. I want to be good, and you just don't know what the crowd's like. MC, there's
Yeah.
less pressure because you don't have to be funny. So
Yeah.
in a way, it's better. So there was an MC at the wedding yesterday, and well, he didn't do too much. He hyped the crowd up a little bit and introduced the speeches, and just was master of ceremonies and made a few
Yeah.
jokes about the couple. Having their first night together and things like that as well. It was a bit how you going, but and look, I'm sure in this day and age, I don't think they're losing their
Yeah.
virginity that night. But
Yeah.
you never know. If it was Western Sydney, well, actually, then it probably definitely. But yeah, it all adds up. Big video
That
crew,
could be your thing.
event,
Maybe you'll
catering.
become an MC. It could be your next
Oh,
business venture.
no, it's not something. I mean, look, if there's a gig available, I'll do it. But it's not enjoy it. You know, these sorts of corporate gigs in comedy are the ones you do for money. You get a lot
Yeah.
of money, but they're not. Every comedian hates them because there's people who just don't know anything about comedy that book a comedian. They'll go to a gig and then the comedian's like, so where's the microphone? They're like, oh. They don't have a microphone and they won't have a stage and they don't know, you know, it's not. And often with
Yeah.
corporate gigs, you know, there's a small company that all know each other intimately and they
Yeah.
have a lot of in jokes with each other, and then you're this sort of external person coming in trying
Yeah.
to gauge that and crowd work,
Yeah.
but also just do your general jokes. And it's never. There are some people who do it really well, and they make a full career out of it. But for a
I've
lot of
never
comedians,
even
they do it
heard
for the
of
money.
Corporate comedy. I've never heard of it
Oh,
until you mentioned it.
it's
ages ago, but yeah.
the biggest management company in Australia. It's their entire business model. It's
Wow.
if you get the gigs at say the big, you know, the mining companies or the big banks. I mean, we're talking. They'll pay a comedian sometimes 20, 30 grand. It's insane. Yeah, those guys who are on TV a bit and you know on radio. You know, take a guess who they might be, but
Yeah.
they're making a mint doing
my
corporate comedy.
God.
Yeah,
It's always the banks. I remember when I worked for like a charity and a bank paid us, and also KFC, but paid us to go in and talk to like their head office corporate about. Basically, they asked me to say sad stories about children that I work with. And I just felt so dirty doing it. And afterwards, like I did it, and everyone was like, wow, this is just, where can I donate? Which was great, but it just felt like such a sellout to be like, hi, everyone.
yeah.
You know, last night, a child I worked with, you know, like, it's just so fucked up. And I was like, why would Westpac Bank need this, like, influential, sad story? I don't know. It's weird, but I don't know their reasons for it.
Oh, they have such an
And also
there's
once
such
a
a
golfing-
surplus. They can do things like that. I'm assuming. I don't know. I'm sure someone listening works at one of the banks and can
Yeah, explain it to me,
have their
please.
reasons for they have an events team or something like that, or a
Or maybe they
team.
feel like their
It's a
staff is lacking
consultancy,
empathy.
something. Yeah, something
And
like.
they
There'll be
want to
some
be like, you think your
consultant.
life is hard?
They
Come
paid.
listen about this.
They probably paid a consultant 100 grand to tell them that you should get someone in there to talk about
Empathy
this,
training,
and then
yeah.
and then they're like, oh, we'll just throw some more money at that.
Literally. Yeah, I
just
actually
probably-
think that's what's happened. Yeah.
Yeah,
Although I will
consultancy.
say, KFC actually did do a lot of things in their Westfield shops to help the young people. They were actually like, it was more like a brainstorm on what can we actually do and how can we offer food or support or programs to young people. So I was impressed with that. The banks, no, they just want a sad story, and then they were like, leave now. Please exit.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, look, some of those companies do a lot of charity, and look, you got to be profitable at that level. You got to their whole thing is they have to be profitable.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
all of it makes sense, but you're dealing with just such a Goliath of an institution with so much excess, and I always find it interesting in giant corporations like that how you can just shirk any kind of accountability, but also claim responsibility for certain gains. You know, if you run a little team in the Commonwealth Bank, which probably has thousands of employees, and then the bank itself is going well, you can say, look what my team did. And then I wonder if is that you and your team, or is that just because the bank is doing so well that every department in there is doing well? I don't know. That's me from a complete outsider's perspective, but I just because I heard a story once. This is totally anecdotal. I heard a story once of a guy who was in finance and he got some short-term contract. I don't know what with all these finance jobs. I don't know exactly what they're doing, but it's some system analyst, blah blah blah. And he did nothing for 6 months. And he kept telling the people, oh, yeah, the report's coming. And they didn't fire him till for the whole, or maybe it was like a few months in until they actually were like, hey, you haven't done the work. We have to fire you. And apparently everyone in the team was secretly impressed and cheering him on.
My
I thought that in a
God.
small business or medium-sized business, there's no way in hell anyone could get away with even just a day of not doing anything, let alone weeks of not doing
Yeah.
anything.
I see that on Reddit all the time. People being like, I take a very high paying job, work from home, do 2 hours in the afternoon, like after lunch, and that's it. Like, and no one asks me anything, no one contacts me, nothing.
Well,
God.
you're living the dream then, actually.
Yeah,
That's
nice.
that's real nice.
Yeah.
How do I get that?
Uh, good question.
Really? 2 hours. So a
Yeah,
high paying job, 2 hours.
Yeah,
And so they've got the rest of the day to do.
but
Wow.
they were. I'm just remembering it was in IT, and because no one in the organization knew about IT, they didn't know how long things would take, like programming or whatever. I don't know, creating websites. I don't know what they were actually doing. But people were like, this could be a 3-month project. And he'd be like, it took me a week, 2 hours a day. And then I just coasted till the next project came along 3 months later. That's so good.
Oh, I'm jealous. That sounds awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess when you deal with people who don't know about your specific role, you can just bullshit a lot.
Oh, yeah.
If someone, we sometimes, if we know that someone's working on behalf of a bigger client and it doesn't have the direct budget for, say, an event or something like that, we often, everyone takes that sort of stuff into account. I'm sure that's what the wedding planners do as
Yeah.
well, knowing,
Oh,
all right,
yeah.
there's not much inelasticity to this sort of demand. We can up our prices a lot, and maybe there isn't like direct competition, or there isn't another IT guy saying, hey, I'll do it quicker, I'll do it faster.
Yeah, that's very true. And one thing I learned when I did business coaching was that when you put your prices lower, you actually get less clients
Yeah.
because people think you're not going to be as successful. So like when I did hypnosis, and I did experience this for myself, I had option between two practitioners, and this is when I was studying it, and one of them, she charged like $120. She was already doing it. She charged $120 for 3 sessions. And the other one said she charges $800 or $860, something like that, for 3 sessions. And I was like, I want that one. She must be good. I didn't pay. It was
That's what
both of them were
happens,
free for
yeah.
me. But that was just the way it worked. Yeah, that was the way my brain worked. I'm like, this
Yeah.
is the quality one then.
Look, yeah, there's books with all those. I read one of
Yeah.
those marketing tactic books a while back, and there was one, that there'll be 3 price points where there's actually just the 2 highest are the same, but then people almost always go for the middle one because they think, all right, well, I don't want to get the cheapest one, but that expensive
Yeah.
one's, they'll specifically make the most expensive, out of reach.
Yeah.
But there's some,
Yeah.
an economist has analyzed that and made graphs about how that's the perfect price that also fulfills our demand. I mean, even, when you go to Boost Juice and their original and medium cup are like 30 cents apart
Yeah.
in price.
Yeah.
So I always looked at that and I thought, okay, well, one of them's making more of a profit, but why are they, I suppose they're just bulk buying ingredients and maybe, I don't know. It's interesting. And then even like the word they'll use and things. I bought like this shirt I'm wearing now, right? It's the exact same shirt you get at Country Road for $80. I got it at Just Jeans for $24 because I know this shirt where I only wear these shirts. And then I was in Just Jeans and I thought, hey, this is exactly like the one in Country Road. And it's the exact same material. It's even got a little label at the same place. So they must have the same manufacturer.
Yeah.
And Country Road is just sitting there saying, oh, well, we're Country Road. We're better than Just Jeans. We can
Yeah.
double our price.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all pretty
so
stupid.
true. You should see the difference of when I looked up white shoes and then looked up bridal shoes, and I have not seen a single pair of bridal shoes under $400. It's just like
Yeah.
just putting the name on it. But then it actually works because even though I know that, I'm like, maybe bridal shoes are softer and easier to wear. Like maybe they're bridal because they're more comfortable for longer wear compared to this $80 pair of shoes that look the exact same. I don't know, but like it even works on me. It's crazy. Marketing is just like, it's so fascinating how much it interlinks with our psychology as well. And how much people can be influenced and sucked into like wasting money. And not that I can talk, I'm so bad at that. Someone could sell me
we all do
like
it, yeah.
a boat or something like random, and I'd be like, I see a lot of value in this.
Yeah,
I will purchase
luxury and
it.
things like that. I always wanted to.
Yeah.
Oh, now I can't give away these secrets on the podcast. Oh, whatever. But I always wanted to run like a comedy and cocktails event, and just hire
great idea.
a really nice bar, and just have one complimentary cocktail or something like that, and then just have the same comedians that I would normally book,
Yeah.
but just say, hey, wear a suit. And then just like double the ticket price. But that's the thing.
great
People would actually
idea.
buy something like that. Comedy and cocktails. It sounds very
And
fancy.
even just having, the cocktails in the title means one, I'd be wearing cocktail attire. I would dress up. It feels like you're getting a nice like schnazzy drink. It's going to be a nice venue. Like I'm like, I will buy that. I will do that. Like
there you
that's
go.
appealing. You should so do that.
All right. Well, now everyone
What's
knows.
the ratio of women to men that go to your shows?
Probably more women. Women,
Really?
women buy more. Yeah. They've done a lot of research into this. Any kind of show, unless it's sport, women buy so many more tickets, and they're usually the ones who, if it's a couple, the woman will be the one that
Right.
wants to
Yeah,
go
that was
and
gonna be my
will
next
talk about
question.
it and book the tickets.
Yeah.
So on social media, my gender ratio is male skewed. And on certain
Yeah.
platforms, quite heavily. On YouTube, I think it's 80-20 male. On the
Wow.
others, Instagram and Facebook, I think it's about 65-35 male. TikTok, I think, is 50-50. I think a lot of these are just
Yeah.
the platform as well. But then at my shows, at my personal shows, I'd say it's maybe, it looks about 50-50, might even be female skewed a little bit, but those Untamed shows, generally more women come. It's still about 50-50, but
Yeah.
women just come to more events. Men just want to stay
Yeah.
home. I don't know.
And probably they're more organized in terms of, this is just a stereotype, but like actually anything that requires like pre-organizing tickets and purchasing tickets or whatever.
And men are a bit more, I think when it comes to comedy in particular, can be a bit more sometimes even threatened. Unless it's someone they actually love. They'll go to a comedy show and be like, oh yeah, all right, make me laugh, clown. You know, that kind of attitude. Well, I'm funnier than these guys. There's a bit of that,
So good.
I think. And
do you ever get heckled, and is it always by men? Or do you ever get heckled by
I
women?
don't really get maliciously heckled. I've never really had like, oh, you're shit or this isn't funny or anything. But there's just drunk people who try to chime in, and that's 50-50. It doesn't really. It's could be anyone, and usually they think that's part of it, and they're trying to have a good time, and it's just disruptive and annoying. But it's pretty rare. Most people are pretty good with that sort of stuff now.
So 2 questions. What are your thoughts on you getting married? Does Andrea want to get married? Actually, 3 questions. And would you do, in your speech, would you do like a little comedy special at your wedding?
I don't know. I pretty much don't know the answer to any of those. I think I do. Yeah, I think I want to get married. I think Andrew wants to get married too, but I don't know. It's not something we want to do in the short term. Basically, it's something maybe if we're still together in a few years, it'll be something we discuss.
Yeah.
I don't think I'll do a comedy. No, I think I'd take it. I mean, I might put a few jokes in there, but no, I don't think I'd do that. What? Like release it on Netflix? The Neil Neil's wedding comedy
That's a great
special.
idea.
No.
Yeah.
I'm not. I don't think. I think there's still something special about that day, and I wouldn't want to,
Yeah.
ruin it with my jokes. So
Oh, you'll have whoever does your speech will, if it's anyone from Comedy Untamed, we'll do that for you.
probably. Yeah. Then they might roast me.
You can have what's that guy's name? The DJ?
Oh, Max.
All the DJs, all your shows.
Yeah, he'll do. Yeah. Yeah,
He'll
if you want a good
DJ.
DJ for a wedding. This is one.
Oh my God.
This is one big business.
Does he actually
advertisement.
DJ weddings? Because I am looking for a DJ.
Yeah, he probably. Yeah, he DJs. He'll DJ a wedding.
Because I liked him. He was fun. Or maybe
Alright.
I'll message him.
We'll message. Yeah, I'll start a group chat after this. This is probably a conversation not to have on the podcast, but nonetheless, that's how you do business, guys.
Yeah, well.
But we'll end this. We'll keep it as a short one, but we'll end it on maybe looking at weddings on a more what does a wedding? Okay, for someone like you who's not religious, what does the wedding mean to you? If you were to describe why you're doing it, what would your answer be?
I feel like I kind of feel like it is selfish, but it's like one day that we get to like truly celebrate us and have everything about us. Like I haven't had a party since I was 16. Adrian's, God forbid, never had a party in his life or a celebration about him. So I think it's just like a really special way to celebrate the love that you have together and the commitment that you have, like the agreement of committing to each other for life, hopefully. So yeah, I think to me it's always been really special. I've always loved weddings. I cry at every single wedding I go to, so I've always wanted to get married. Adrian has panic attacks thinking about being in a wedding, so good luck to him. But he's I think he does want one. I mean, we're doing it. Originally we were going to get married privately and then have like a small like thing at my parents' house, but I've turned it into like a full wedding. But he doesn't really know what's happening either. I've planned the whole thing.
So so you would
But he
say
knows how many people's coming.
So it's a celebration for you.
Yeah.
Celebration of
yeah.
the commitment. Okay.
Yeah, I think so. And just a day to have, like, I'll get a princess treatment. I'm getting my hair done. I'm getting my makeup done.
Yeah,
That kind of stuff. So,
for sure. Yeah.
yeah.
You feel special and
Yeah. I think so. I mean, I feel like that's why most people do it. They want to have that, like,
for sure.
that special moment, that special day or whatever about them and their partner, obviously.
Yeah.
obviously, about the both of you. But yeah. And also, and parents, like some parents really push for their children to get married and almost for the reason like the parents want to have showcase, like they write on the invites, Mr. and Mrs. parents' name, invite you to the wedding of the bride and groom, which I find interesting. Like they really push for their involvement in it as well. It's important to a lot of family in some cases, but I'm sorry if you can hear my baby screaming. He's just woken up. Can you hear that?
No, I can't hear anything.
How about now?
No,
Okay, good.
can't hear anything.
He's awake.
Oh, okay.
Lucky me.
Do you need
The
to go?
start of many wake ups during
Oh no.
during this night.
Do you need to go?
No, it's
Take care
okay.
of-
Adrian can.
Okay.
Adrian will
We'll probably
Hopefully sort it out.
we'll
We'll
wrap
see.
this one up, but yeah, I if there isn't a religious significance to the wedding, I'm always interested in what people think about them and why they might be doing it, and it does sound like for a lot of
Yeah.
people it's a celebration and it's also a moment for them. It is it's a bit selfish, but it's there's beauty to that. There's for
Yeah,
a
why
lot of
not have a
art
day?
in a way, because the one, like I said, the one I saw yesterday, it felt like it was a performance. It felt like a show,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
for any sort of showmanship and performance, there's an element of selfishness involved because it's
yeah.
all eyes on me. I need to sort of entertain people. Yeah. And then I've heard that for it's symbolic. You're getting in front of your friends and family and making a commitment, and that sort of solidifies that commitment more than just say signing a contract or
Yeah.
agreeing with each other that you're going to date. It's more potent and significant when you make those vows in front of your immediate social circle, and I understand that. Even if there isn't a religious element attached to that, I can just understand that as a ritual, how it would just put more emphasis on that bond and relationship.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm also curious because, in our last podcast, I was talking about how, like, I am definitely a what's next person, and I don't love that about myself, but I am curious how I'll feel after we get married. I'll be like, what's next? We had a baby, maybe another one.
Another
What's
one.
next? Kind of thing. Like, when you go through your relationship, you're like, okay, we move in. What's next? You get engaged. What's next? Married. What's next? Baby, whatever. So I think that'll be interesting to see. I'll be like, okay, I've done all those things now. Got a house, got married, had a
Well, then that's
baby.
it.
Yeah.
There's nothing else, isn't there? I don't know.
What do I do?
And in 20 years, grandkids maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, just exist.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll go back to being career obsessed. Who knows?
Yeah, some people do. It doesn't actually. I don't. You don't see a lot of that.
But
So anecdotally, when someone's had children, they don't. At least in my social circle, I don't know anyone who's then maybe after a decade or something when the kids are in school, but
yeah.
immediately
Yeah.
and they probably just can't physically give
Yeah.
100% to their career. But
Everyone I know that has kids under 5 is part time. Every single person
course,
until
yeah.
they're in school. Yeah. I
And
mean,
that makes
mother
sense.
or primary parent. Yeah. Which is, if you can, it's great. I think if
It
that's
do-
what you want or whatever. But yeah.
sounds like the domain of the ultra wealthy to be able to have kids and then immediately go back into a high powered career,
Yeah.
because then you'd
Yeah.
need nannies or you'd need
Yeah.
other people doing some of that child rearing.
Yeah. Exactly. Get au pairs. I see people comment all the time about au pairs on Facebook. I'm like, I forgot that was even a thing. But yeah, they get like young, like 18-year-olds from Germany or France to come live with them and help with the children, which is, I guess,
Oh,
good
yeah.
for everyone involved. But
Okay.
yeah, interesting. Yeah. Anyway, that's not really wedding related, but you know.
Yeah, it's it's in that realm.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the other. Yeah, I get. Well, maybe we can conclude on that, but there's no real, you know. That's where there's more option paralysis, isn't there? Okay, once you've had, I mean, I don't know if you've experienced that, but when you've had the baby, then, then what do you do? You then aim to go back to work straight away, or do you stay full time as a parent, or if you can afford it, yeah, do you get an what is it, au pair,
Yeah. That's a
au
live-in
pair,
nanny.
or do you, if you've got the time, would you rather be the one doing that as opposed to the au pair? So
Yeah.
it's a lot of things to think about there.
Yeah, those questions go through my head literally every day. But that's a future me problem. I'll figure it out. I'm always like, next month I'll decide what I want to do. But I'm at the moment, I'm happy at home. As long as I can afford it, I'll be here. I mean, not forever, but we'll see. See where the wind takes me.
Fair enough. All right,
Because
well,
I'll get wedding and then I'll be like, what next? Anyway.
could be zen, could be happy in the moment. But yeah, look, I'm the same. How about we'll tell people who are watching this on YouTube, comment if you know of anyone who's had an extraordinarily lavish wedding that spent, if anyone can beat $200,000, I'd be very interested to hear about that. And then if you went, what was it? Was it actually good? And
Yeah, was it worth it?
also, if you've had a very cheap wedding, if someone's had one that's maybe, I don't know, 15 grand or something, was it good? Was it still memorable?
Yeah,
and
do you regret
meaningful?
not like that's I'm curious about that. If you had a low key wedding, do you regret it? Or do you wish you had been like, I just wish I had that super lavish day if I had
Yeah.
the capacity for it. I wish I'd saved another 5 years or whatever and had that big blowout wedding. That'd be interesting.
Yeah, with the drums. That was so okay.
And the
No, that was
saxophone
worth
player.
it. Yeah, if you got the money, I reckon go for it.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
so much fun. All right, well, shout out to them if they're listening. But thank you for listening, guys. We'll be back next week. And make sure you follow us on social media, subscribe to YouTube, share this podcast if you liked it, and enjoy the rest of your week.
See you next week.